I will now call this meeting to order on October 22nd at 9 a.m. We'll start with the territorial acknowledgement. In the spirit of reconciliation, we acknowledge with respect the history and living culture of the Anishinaabe, people of the three fires known as Ojibwe, Odawa, and Potawatomi Nation, who have inhabited this land from time immemorial. We recognize that these lands are the territories of the Chippewas of Saugeen and the Chippewas of Nawash, collectively known as the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, the keepers of this land. Georgian Bluffs is located on lands encompassed by treaties 45.5, 67, 72, 82, and 93. We reflect on our role as treaty people and the need to live in respect and peace and show respect to the First Peoples who inhabit these lands and waters. Thank you, everyone, for being here. To Matt from Nickel and Leo, and I know you introduced me to your boss, and I promptly forgot her name, so I apologize.
Carolyn McRae.
Thank you, Carolyn, and welcome. Thank you for being here today. And we'll move on to approval of the agenda, the recommendation that the agenda be approved as presented. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Coburn, Deputy Mayor Pringle. Any discussion? We'll call the vote. All in favor. And next, we're going to move on into the business planning strategic session. So the recommendation is that special council meeting be recessed and that council hereby moves into a strategic session at 9:03 a.m. and that all materials contained herein be received for information. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Deputy Mayor Pringle, Councillor Coburn. We'll call the vote. All in favor. Is carried, and I will turn this over to staff to start with their presentation.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome. So today we are going to be discussing our 2026 business plan strategic session. We also have some updates as well for council to consider and discuss. If you have questions throughout this presentation, please feel free to ask them as they come up. Don't feel like you have to save them for a moment. That being said, we may say there's a slide later on that will address this. So we do have a few presentations here as well for council's information today, but otherwise we will start in. You can go to the next slide. In trying to keep with the 2025 budget process, we are trying to mirror that as much as possible. We do have a new nuance, I guess I'll call it, being strong mayor's powers, which we will touch on later today as to what the implications of that have on our business plan. Looking at our timeline, although this says budget starts in June, budget for some people is year-round, all year, every year. We may not know what year we're working in sometimes, but it's happening. So back on June 25th, we did receive our mayoral direction directing the Treasurer and Acting CAO to prepare, as well as guidelines on what today's session and the November session are to look like. We did have our services survey open to the public from mid-July to mid-August. The results of those services are here as well for council to receive. Today, being October 22nd, you have the results of your services survey, your business plan request, proposed user fee changes, and your asset management update. November 7th will be the triggering date for your mayoral budget being presented to the public and council. That is our new trigger for the 30 days. And we'll again talk about that a bit more later on. November 14th is when we are slotting to have our presentation of the mayor's budget. We're going to be looking then at our reserves and reserve fund, the estimated balances, and how that is in line or where some discrepancies may be from your reserve and reserve fund policy. We are planning to have a budget open house on November 18th. This is not a special council meeting. It is meant to be an open house that members of the public can come ask questions. However, that does not bar any members of council from being present. We're looking to expand some of the hours. So the official start time, I don't believe, has been set, but there will be a media release and it will go into the night to allow for some of those residents who maybe work 9 to 5 an opportunity for them to also stop in and ask any questions that they may have in relation to the budget. The other dates that are listed here, we'll come back to when we're talking about strong maps. They're the dates that have a bit more impact around the strong maps, so we'll look at those when we're discussing strong maps. Next slide. We already touched a bit on what your agenda for today looks like. When looking at goals, you'll be receiving a lot of information. And coming out of today, we're looking for direction to be as to what business plan requests you would like to see included in a 2026 budget to move forward. If there's any new services that comes from your services survey or that you've heard from the public, some direction on investigating them a bit more and providing information back to council. We also have our user fee changes, which will be needed to be brought forward to council through a bylaw for final adoption. Next slide. Our first presenter to you this morning will be Matt Brown from Nickel Insurance to discuss your insurance.
Mayor Carlton, Deputy Mayor Pringle, councillor, staff, I really appreciate getting the opportunity to come out and sit and go over some of this with you guys today. Close to my heart, making sure that everybody's educated on exactly what it is that you're purchasing, understand why costs are the way they are. Obviously, with budget coming up, it's important to understand what you're looking at as well. I do want to start off, next slide, please. I think one of the things I want to recognize most importantly is we really appreciate your loyalty. Nickel Insurance and Georgian Bluffs have been working together for 20 years now. We just don't see things like that every day. I know my dad worked at Bull Bars for 40 years, so that was pretty impressive, but I think that doesn't really happen anymore. So we had a lunch, Nickel Insurance provided a lunch for the whole staff, the whole team, and it's something we'd like to maybe continue moving forward, our appreciation of your loyalty and working with a local insurance broker, as well as somebody that actually lives in the community as well. So thank you very much. I'm not going to try to, next slide, I'm going to try not to bore you too much. There's a lot of moving parts. There's 4 slides up there and they are a little bit tricky to see. But I just kind of wanted to go over claim summary, risk management, and maybe some things that we could do to make things better. I know everybody here mainly sees a cost associated with insurance, but something that should be recognized is there's actually 15 different insurance policies that the Bluff has to make sure we have a well-rounded protection if anything were to possibly happen. This summary that you're looking up above shows the last 10 years. So in the last 10 years, the Bluffs have had almost 30 total claims. I'm not getting into details of specifics, but I do want to narrow it down to where they are coming from in hopes that we can find some efforts to mitigate them. So liability was 18 claims, errors and omissions were 6, and auto vehicle claims were 5. That's the first slide on the top left. So liability being the most total claims that we've seen. If we go over to the right, we took those claims and turned them into dollar values paid out. So liability still being the most, just over $500,000. Without getting into details, there was one major claim that's associated with that. Errors and omissions, $235,000. There's one large claim this year that's in the process. Auto 2019, there was one, and it was $100,000. So there's really 3 major claims that we've had in 10 years out of the 30, which represents almost 90% of the overall paid out cost. So where are those claims coming from? If we look down at the bottom left, we're looking at number of claims. So where are these claims coming from each? So ice and snow is the most with, I believe it was 5. Can't really see up there. That's pretty well common in almost in any commercial business, municipality, slip and falls, especially in Grey Bruce, the way the roads are, the way the winters we got, that is common. It's hard to put a lot of things in place to bring that down because it's weather related. People need to slow down. Motor vehicle accidents in construction zones, road design, drainage and grading. And as you can see, there's a lot of one-offs, which is a positive on here. The one thing that really doesn't show, except for if you remove the ice and the snow, there's really no major catastrophic where we're seeing a ton of, which tells me that as losses do occur, Georgian Bluffs is doing what they can to educate their teams to make sure we mitigate and not have any claims the same that's happened before. We're learning from them. So that is one good outcome of this slide. And then in the bottom right, breaking down the liability, drainage and grading. Once again, one major issue that we've had and that we're working through, and it's a rare case as well. That's breaking down the claims. I know it seems like a lot, but one thing, there really isn't a whole lot of major trends that I think that we need to like hold. We have a very big problem here. Intact Public Entities, your insurance company also feels the same way. Can we get better? Sure. We can definitely do things to get better by training, education, communication, and things like that. Next slide. So Intact Public Entities offers a lot of training. Samantha and Brittany can maybe speak to that too. There's a lot of things that they will provide for us, for your drivers, for your staff, for counselors, anything like that, which I'm going to mention at the end of the presentation. So these are some things based on what they've seen that they feel that maybe we could work on as a group. And obviously Nickel Insurance being a strong provider and helping work through these. The liability claims, adopting a documented snow ice control policy, consistent sanding, salting schedules, and logbooks to demonstrate reasonable efforts. It's a big one. Like, unfortunately, we're in a sue-friendly society where somebody hurts themselves or something happens, they immediately look for a payout. And that's unfortunate because that drives everybody's rates up. The one thing that we can do as a municipality is making sure that we have everything documented. T's crossed, I's dotted. If a plow's out on the road and comes across things like a pothole or, you know, some pavements degrading where it could create like some sort of a pothole, any type of that information is helpful to get the information and to do something about it. Because if something were to happen, the municipality can fight that, Intact can fight that and say, hey, yeah, this happened, but like this is everything that we've done to prevent somebody from getting hurt or a further thing to happen. So like that's one thing we can really educate, especially with drivers. And I know we do have a good process in place now. Regular patrols and inspection logs to identify hazards, potholes. We talked a little bit about that. Clear signage, barriers, reduced speed zones, and compliance with administrative transportation standards for traffic control. Signage is a huge benefit for the municipality. Anytime we see some sort of issue with, hey, well, that seems strange. Just like if somebody has a gravel pit or a farm and they don't want trespassers, making sure we have no trespassing signs, because then we can clearly identify if somebody goes over there, like they trespassed, making sure we have clear directions so people don't go anywhere where they could potentially get hurt. This goes for trails, snowmobile trails, things like that. Periodic engineering reviews of high-risk intersections and roadways to ensure alignment with modern safety standards. Obviously, this is something that's ongoing. There's a lot of different things that we can do. Unfortunately, there's a lot of changes cost money. And with the budget coming up, understanding what's the most important. Implement regular inspections of municipal drains, culverts, and catch basins. This is huge. Drainage issues is a major claim in all municipalities. Anytime water gets into a basement or floods something, it's always going to come back to the municipality. They're going to be named in it. And they're going to dig back to permits and the contractor, and it becomes messy. So if we can keep everything clean, that definitely helps. Regular arborist inspections of municipality on trees, documenting condition, pruning, removing recommendations. So things like trees falling, branches falling. We had a significant ice storm. Us not so bad as some of the other municipalities, but trying to see these areas now because we might have another big winter. If we had a huge ice storm and a car was driving down the road and a tree was frozen and fell down, like unfortunately that's going to be a municipality issue likely. So if we can educate our team members that are out there all the time to be aware of these surroundings and communicate them back to the team here, we can get these fixed and prevent them from even happening. Maintain detailed maintenance records to support defense in event litigation. This is huge. Every conversation that you have with somebody from the society, any public matter, any safety concerns, anything that's brought to your attention, making sure that we can prove that we've documented it and we've talked about it and we did whatever we could to put it in place so it doesn't happen again, so nobody gets hurt. I can't tell you how many claims that come up in certain areas from 30, 40 years ago of something that happened and there's zero documentation. So that's the one most important thing everybody here needs to remember is somebody comes in and you have a conversation, making sure it's just documented and it's addressed to the appropriate personnel so it can be looked after. Errors and omissions, implement a clear documented permit issuing process with mandatory checklists. keep written communication logs. We talked about it, inspection reports, photographs, permit records, just support accountability. I can't express how important photographs are too. Like if somebody sees, if there is a pothole on an intersection or a road or something, to get a picture and to document it and show what you've done to, or schedule to get it fixed, because if somebody we get hurt, at least we can show that, hey, we were just notified about it today and we fixed it tomorrow. There's not much more we can do, but at least we can show that we are reacting to the concerns of the public. Implement a tracking system response timelines to ensure all public complaints are investigated and resolved. Implement a record retention policy to ensure all permitting and inspection documents are preserved for defense purposes, which is essentially why we're doing this. Intact Public Entities defends Georgia Bluffs, and they're blind without documentation. So the better job we can do to present a defense to them, the easier the job is for them to mitigate and make sure the loss is at a minimum, which directly impacts your loss history, which in return reflects on your rates. Automobile claims are just something that are probably never going to go away. Given incidents involving plow operations, implementing comprehensive winter equipment safety protocols, including speed restrictions during adverse conditions, mandatory safety equipment checks, and specialized training for handling heavy equipment on icy or unstable surfaces, could significantly reduce future collision risks. Although there's been significant snow claims, like not significant, but one of the higher numbered items, we've been really good. I think all the drivers have been good. We've got a couple instances where there's been nothing extravagant that would raise awareness that there's a problem in here. So which tells us that our hiring practices are good. And then free training tools. So one of the advantages of working with nickel insurance and having a broker is I want to make sure that I do a better job of educating the employees, the staff on things that we could help get better. Like just as simple as the tree, where you have somebody in a municipal truck driving on the road and notices this huge tree over where it's like, hey, you know what, if ice comes, getting them to see those things. I'd like to work with the staff to establish maybe like some insurance training on our employees and staff to make sure that maybe they start thinking differently. I don't expect everybody to be an insurance professional, but I would like everybody to understand risk and where they can go to protect the municipality, to protect you, protect themselves. I can't imagine what it'd be like being a snowplow operator, but if we can have these drivers in the spring understand what exposures are in the summer that could potentially fall in the winter, like it would help them. It would help them, possibly feel safer, maybe empower them as an employee to provide information and be heard. I think there's a lot of different, I'm not going to get into each one of these, but this is just a list of a few training opportunities that we can provide to staff, employees, et cetera. And we would be open for any suggestions of anything that maybe you see as a benefit as well. So we can talk about that offline. So how do we compare against other municipalities? So Georgia Bluffs currently has roughly a 10% loss ratio, and that number is excellent. Over 20 years, that's great. Some years not so good, some years not so bad, but overall it's been great. Where it stands with other municipalities, guys are doing great. The loss ratio is good. There's some municipalities where that number is significantly higher, and they're constantly seeing increases. Last 5 years, with the exception of last year, it was a steady climb. It took a while for insurance companies to get the rates where they needed to be to become profitable. But with that being said, Intact is looking at providing a decrease, which is a rare occurrence to Georgia Bluffs this year. So based on conversations, 5 to 6% is the goal. And they have alluded to the fact that if we can implement some more of this training, get people more educated, keep this loss ratio the way it is, we're going to continually see that number go down year over year. And I'm going to make sure I hold them accountable if we follow through with their recommendations. So that's some great news. It's one of those times where I don't mind being on a meeting to give this. And then last slide, one thing I think would be an advantage, like I said, there's 15 different policies, and I don't expect everybody to understand every one in full detail. I just took a screenshot of the cyber policy. So within that cyber policy, there's 30 some odd different extensions of coverages and things like that in there, where I would gladly like to maybe have like an annual or a biannual presentation. It doesn't need to be public, but just with council or staff, and let's go over what you're buying in detail, right? I could sit here and like, we could take things like PCI fines and assessments, and I could say, this is what that covers. This is an example that it would apply to. This is how it would respond if there was a situation at the Bluffs. And then you would understand that a bit more. I use cyber because I know that's a big topic now everywhere, right? Obviously, Hamilton went through a very dramatic situation with cyber. We don't want that to happen here. Our systems are really strong, and based on our cyber applications, everything is met, so that issue should not happen here. But I would like to dig into these things just so you guys understand a little bit more about what exactly it is. 15 policies, and like you said, this policy's got 30 different extensions, so you can only imagine how many different coverages there are. And I'm sure there's a ton of questions, but we're not going to be able to do that in one meeting. So I can work with staff, and maybe you guys have a vote of what you'd like to see, when you'd like to see me, and I have no problem coming out at any time and educating everyone on whatever topic they may want to discuss. And other than that, I don't have anything else today, unless there's any questions that anybody has for me.
Thank you, Matt. Any questions from anyone? Tobin, you got your hand up first, go ahead.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor, to the staff and perhaps Matt. First of all, thank you very much for the presentation. I think you might be the first person who said the word decreasing in terms of money.
Well, that's the only reason I came today.
That's my mind hustle, so that's lovely. I have a question, perhaps the staff, I don't know if the right staff are here, but it might relate to you as well. With the adoption of the documented snow and ice control policy and logbooks, I feel like we've been presented one over the years, every winter there's been one presented. So is that feedback specific to that document that's been presented? And are there gaps within it?
Go ahead, Sam.
So through you, some of those policies, although they're in our handbook, haven't maybe been formalized. So it's the formalization of that policy and updating of our policy. Staff are working on getting all of those policies gathered up to make sure they are accurate and in place to provide to insurance. We do also have which we're still rather fresh in our staff using it, but we have implemented maintenance manager, which is going to catch. And the purpose of it is when they are doing route patrols to log a case at that time, so that we will have in our daily route patrols, a pothole was here, a tree was here. So we just need that opportunity to educate the staff on what things they maybe need to look for, not only from the working side, but the risk side, taking that into account. So some of those things that are suggestions in here, staff are aware of and are working towards obtaining.
I have a completely different question, so if you want to go.
Sure, I will, because I have a few as well. Again, thank you for your presentation. Further to Tobin's comments for staff, I imagine outdated policies can be a risk in terms of insurance, and I know that we have several outdated policies, so I'm happy to hear that policies are being reviewed and brought up to speed. I always ask about trends, so I'm glad you covered that. It sounds like we're trending similarly, or at least in the right direction. How do the recommendations, I guess our CAO and senior staff can answer this, how do these recommendations for doing things better translate into practice in other areas? You know, so I'm thinking about signage in our trails, and, you know, is there going to be a comprehensive look at where we can do things better with all of the areas that have been outlined, whether it's cybersecurity or signage or regular inspections? I'm big, as you know, on risk management, and so I think any formal staff approach to making sure we're addressing those areas of need, I would definitely support.
Anyone from staff have a comment there, or was?
Well, through you, Mayor Carlin, one thing I just do want to point out that may help staff out significantly is with any policies or procedures that you're currently feel they're outdated based on when they're like, send them to me, because Intact's legal team will go through it free of cost as part of your fees and update them and give you, same like we just did the other week there. They'll give you a whole outline saying, hey, these are where we think you're vulnerable and these are areas of opportunity. And I would gladly help stick handle any of that. So anything you can work through my inbox and I would gladly help with that. And then I get help with back to your comment in regards to implementing back to staff and policies and procedures. That's not an issue. I think it could be a big help for you, especially with timing and things like that.
And just along those same lines, you mentioned about complaints tracking. And this is to staff, I guess, more. We occasionally, maybe more than occasionally, hear from folks that they get the automated response back to their complaints saying that it's resolved, when in the resident's mind, it has not been resolved. So how do we reconcile that? Perhaps staff see it as a resolution, but the individual doesn't. It's going to show up in our statistics as an issue having been resolved, but in the ratepayer's mind, it has not been resolved. Is there anything we can be doing better there?
Through you, Mayor, like it's tough. Like it's one of those situations where one person thinks something's done, the other thinks it's not. But I would encourage the fact that if the person doesn't believe it's actually been completed when they got a notification was completed, they're probably going to reach out and just making sure that that's addressed promptly and quickly and understanding the reason that somebody sent them a notification that it was completed and where's that gap? Like what exactly happened? Like, because obviously somebody thought it was done and it wasn't. And then making sure that you get back to the person in a timely manner. Because depending on the severity, you could open yourself up for an errors and omissions claim if something were to go south that way. But response time, like nobody's perfect. So if an email gets sent out that something's done and this person doesn't believe that it's completed, they're going to reach out and scream. I think we've all been there in a certain situation. It's that next response time is where we can be better, right? Like you may not give them the answer that they would like, but you've documented that, hey, this person reached out to me. This is what I did about it. This is where I sent it because this is where it needs to go. This is what this person is doing about it. This is the date they're going to get back to you. There's nothing more you can do. And that goes back to the logging, documentation, and making sure that we understand the importance of our community and why they're coming to us. And that's another training tool. Because I know sometimes we get caught up when somebody, and I do too all the time, when I get somebody call and they tell me this issue that it's really not that big of an issue. But unfortunately, to them, it's a big issue in that day and they're very emotional about it. And we want to make sure that we can comfort them in the fact that they have somebody they can trust that's going to be able to do what they need to do to help them. And they're going to grow confidence in them. They're going to grow confidence in the team. And they're going to continue knowing who to go to. And that's a big win for us because you just now made somebody's day and you've also protected the municipality because you've followed a strict procedure and you've documented everything. And if that person decides to go do whatever legal thing that they want, I'd like to think that based on our actions and documentation, Intact's going to go sit in front of a judge and they're going to go, this person's being completely unreasonable. So, thank you.
Hi, through you, Mayor. I am not an expert in this topic, which I'm going to ask you a question in, but the word photograph caught my ear in this presentation in terms of photographing the risks that are out in our community and perhaps refer to those as well. It just made me think about artificial intelligence and how photographs can be manipulated, and that technology is changing very quickly. So do we and do you and do the people who are making the decisions in court have the tools and training to identify when photos have been manipulated?
Mayor, that's an excellent question. AI is obviously, I don't want to say new, but new to a lot of people. I know cell phones are a huge asset because it has a date and a timestamp and it shows the photos. And if it were to be changed, it wouldn't be there. You know what I mean? You could see that it would be. But as for, I don't know a good answer for you on that. I would have to look into it. I really don't know, to be completely honest with you. it's a very, very good point. But once again, like, we could worry about a lot of different things. And at the same point, if it was caught, that is fraud. So if somebody were to do that, there would be some major legal actions on their end over, because the likeliness of them wanting to change it is to try to pull through a lawsuit for them to gain money, which if it was fraud, then that's going to backfire on them pretty quick. But as for somebody that would know, like, I would have to think somebody in the cyber division would be educated enough to do that, but I personally don't know the answer to that. All we can do is our best with our internal staff to control what we have. And if somebody sent you a picture that was wrong, I think essentially you would go there immediately and then you'd be like, this isn't what I just got a picture of, right? And that goes back to the documentation. This person sent me a picture. I just went there, here's my picture, something's not right. Somebody has changed something, right? That's the best advice I can give to you. But as for somebody, I don't know the answer to that.
Thank you. I kind of figured that would be your answer. It's just if that
Yeah.
field is changing so quickly, the technology will outpace the ability of the systems to respond, or possibly. So.
Why could I be fooled? I might not even be a human. That is a good question, and honestly, let me get some feedback and I will get back.
CAO.
I don't think this will totally answer your question, but I think that the best approach for us is exactly what Matt has talked about, and that is us following up on complaints, following up on observations, and then logging our response time. So I can use an example from a week and a half ago that was property done by a contractor to a ratepayer property. So the claim was heavy truck ruts, heavy pivoting, damage to the lawn. And so I'll use your example and say, if there was a picture taken and manipulated, what we would have seen was our response time was within a day, and pictures taken to say, no damage, no marks, nothing resembling what the complaint was, and our timestamp log on that. So I have the same fear that you do, that AI is outpacing our reality and our response to those. But I think our only way to confront that is with our attention and our quick response and our logging. So, you know, I think in this circumstance where we received a report, if it had been accompanied with altered AI, we would have had a response with pictures and a logged attention within 24 hours that told a different story. So I don't know that that gives you much confidence, other than to say the magic is in us responding to our customers and logging our response times.
You may have answered this already, and I apologize in advance if I missed it, but do we have enough coverage for cybersecurity? Because we keep hearing it's not a matter of if, but when. And how do you decide how much is enough? When you talk about things like reputational risk, it's hard to monetize that kind of thing, but I'm just curious to know, are we on solid ground in that regard, insurance-wise?
Mayor, it's a question that everybody asks me, and I truly don't have an answer, because like, I could sell you insurance all day long, and I could give you examples of certain situations that could happen. If I had to answer in regards to the cyber, I would have to state that your cyber liability limit is well inferior than any other limit you have on any of your other policies. It's probably one that we should maybe look at. Is it enough? It could be. Like, based on the infrastructure here and the MFA, multi-factor authentication, the risk isn't as high, but it doesn't mean it's not there. $1 million could be enough, but I have other municipalities that are 2, some that are 5. It's difficult to say. There's been so many things out there that could be more than 5, but at what point do you stop buying insurance and say, you know what, we're going to put the infrastructure in place, we're going to mitigate our loss if anything happens over here, but I'd gladly provide terms for 2 and 5 million. Like, I think it's something that should be presented and you should see. But the answer to, is it enough? It may not be. But your liability may not be enough if this significant happened, and you got high liability limits. So it's one of those things where we need to sit down, weigh the options and the costs and see if it makes sense. But to answer your question, it is your lowest liability limit, and it could be potentially one of your higher exposures moving forward, because cyber and AI and all these things are becoming more and more every day.
Mayor Carlton, through you, can we leave that discussion between our CAO and the insurance provider,
I
perhaps?
think we make that as a note for something to consider on going forward. I just hate to see our 5% decrease go away. Go ahead.
With that in mind, do we need to provide some direction around taking advantage of the free training tools that are provided?
Any questions?
No, no, actually, just both make a comment though. Thanks,
Go
Matt, for
ahead.
the presentation today, and it was a great way to start the morning off here today with hearing a decrease for a change, which is nice. But kudos to the staff for the hard work's been going on there too with the staff and the team out there. It does show that we are deeply rooted and care about our community, and that goes to the staff and the employees, and just keep driving the right direction here. So that's all good.
Thank you.
I don't like outing myself on my tenure here, but I certainly do echo the words, and certainly we have looked at our coverage in the past, and I did confirm that we have had a decrease before I made my comment, but I can remember a time when this organization went to one of your predecessors and said, we think we're paying too much, we should maybe have a look, and very kindly, your representative brought a list of our claims and our performance and said, pointed out that we were upside down. We were really getting a good deal. So it is really encouraging, and I appreciate the kind words to the staff, and I'll pass that on. That with you, we've made some changes that put us in a position where you have a good news report. So that means a lot to us, and we appreciate the partnership.
Thank you. And like I said, I'm a member of this community, and I'm here to fight whatever battles you guys need me to help you with. So my contact information can be easily accessible, and whatever, and even if it's something personal that you guys have an issue with or need some advice, I'd gladly help anybody. Just as I would hope you guys would help me with anything, and have helped me anything I've had going on in the municipality. So
We will take you up on that kind offer for policy review.
Sounds good.
That's a good one. Thank you for that. I just wanted to restate it so you remember you.
I just got it here, set up meeting with Thompson.
I had to bring an arm on policy.
All right.
I just have a question for staff over here. Do we have Councillor Schuldeis online? Did I see him on earlier?
I think we heard a ding that sounded like
He has
something.
been our GEI presenter.
Okay, because I thought I saw something there earlier, and I just wanted to make sure we didn't miss Isaac if he was there. Okay. Matt, thank you very much. I really
Matt.
appreciate all the information and for being here this morning.
Have a good day.
Thanks, Matt.
Hey.
Thank you. So now we will be moving into our business plan requests, which we are going to also be starting with a couple presentations. This is the summary list of all the new requests that we will be discussing today. To start it off, I would like to invite Ontario Clean Water Agency. We have Leo and Carolyn here to discuss their requests.
Welcome, Leo and Carolyn, and thank you for being here today.
Well, thank you for having us. So if I may, so the essentially the presentation starts or it gives just a general description of the facilities. It starts with we'll start with the East Linton drinking water system. So it's composed of a low lift station, basically the building that we use to pump water from the lake from. The water treatment plant, booster station in Presque Isle, our wonderful standpipe, and distribution mains. In summary, so the East Linton low lift pumping station was built in 93, 94. The concrete structure, about 6 feet, precast concrete intake structure. at approximately 20 feet deep. The intake in the lake is approximately 430 feet out in the lake. And the intake is fed by a 6-inch ductile iron pipe. And the water is pulled from the lake by 3 20 horsepower pumps. Then we go to the East Linton Water Treatment Plant, so built in 1993-94. UV disinfection system installed in 2004. Flocculation filtration units replaced with new PAL Ariel microfiltration system in 2008. Atlas Copco air compressors replaced in 2021-2023. Plant PLC refurbished in 2024. PAL filtration system PLC has not been refurbished. So PLC system that was refurbished is everything outside of the PAL membrane filtration system. Diesel generator fuel tank was replaced in 2025. PAL Skid A T2 storage tank was also replaced in 2025. East Linton booster station, standpipe and distribution mains for Presque Isle drinking water system, built in 1988. The 2,000 cubic meter capacity standpipe was installed in 2008. Presque Isle water mains connected to the East Linton water distribution system in 2010. And water treatment plant, Presque Isle water treatment plant back then was converted into the current booster station. Although some sections of distribution pipelines are aged, the majority are PVC pipes. Section of water main in the south end of Palm Beach Road and Gray Road 1, west of Indian Acres Road, Ishwar Drive and Indira, are undersized and are recommended for replacement. And 5-year flow testing was conducted in the entire distribution, actually including all the other distribution systems also was conducted in 2024. What we suggested in major maintenance for 2026 for the East Linton drinking water system is a total amount of $269,450, which in general summarizes the low lift portion, including the intake. We have $6,450, suggested $6,450. And that's basically just to have the intake inspected and other minor maintenances. In terms of the water treatment plant, we have $193,000 suggested for 2026. And to summarize, we suggest to replace filtration cartridges from the PAL membrane filtration system for $20,000. One of the pumps from the PAL skids for $6,000. One of the high lift pump motor and a high lift pump for a total of $60,000. One of the 3 UV systems. So the UV system is composed of 3 UV disinfection units. So 1 unit for $85,000. A new desktop virtual machine for the SCADA system at the plant, so $6,000. Clear well cleaning and inspection, $10,000 for that. Always keep a rolling water main repair amount. So So for East Linton, about $50,000. And we've also suggested or budgeted, suggest a budget of $20,000 to do other repairs at the Presque Isle booster station, which is basically some more water trunk main repair right there. So the Shallow Lake water treatment plant and distribution system. Shallow Lake water treatment plant and I guess distribution were built in 1996. A green sand filtration system was installed in the year 2000 in order to assist with the removal of manganese of the water source. An anion resin exchange system was installed in 2009 in order to assist in reducing high levels of THM. High-lift fire pump motor was replaced with a new VFD. That was in 2018. UV system, a new UV system composed of 2 units, 1 duty, 1 standby, was installed in 2019. Sacrificial anodes were installed on the packaged conventional dual media filtration system in 2021. And the green sand filtration system was completely or was refurbished in 2021, 2022. One of the 3 ion exchange tanks, media and under drain system was replaced in 2022. The 3 ion exchange heads were rebuilt in 2023. 2 tanks under drain and media are scheduled for replacement in 2024. The water treatment plant gas boiler was replaced in 2024. Diesel generator fuel tank was replaced in 2025. Gravity filter tanks underwent thickness testing in 2025 and currently undergoing rebuilding. One of the filter tank, so it's the filter section of the unit, under drain and air scouring system.
Leo, before we move ahead, just a question on that slide. It says the 2 tanks under drain and media were scheduled for replacement in 2024. Did that actually happen then? It just says they were scheduled. It didn't say they were replaced.
The
third bullet mark down that page.
they are not yet complete. We still we actually went to tender and actually it's scheduled to be done next week.
Okay, thank you.
So the water distribution network was primarily constructed in 1996. PVC pipelines range from 6-inch to 8-inch in diameter. And again, fire flow testing was conducted in 2024. In summary, we for 2026 we suggested a total amount of a budget at $142,000 for the Shallow Lake plant. So 93,000 of that amount would go for work done to the gravity filter number 2. Work is still currently being done on gravity filter number 1. We suggest some maintenance, some more maintenance on the standby generator power diesel generator at the plant, so $15,000. Some work on the plant PLC for $10,000. Plant roof, Still have that amount there, so usually we, when it comes to building and road, we leave that to, buildings department, but, anyway, we still have, $5,000 noted in our budget, and, $10,000 for our distribution system repairs. Potawatomi drinking water system and distribution. So the water treatment plant and water distribution systems, they were built in 1987. Iron sequestration system, UV disinfection and cartridge filtration were later installed. Wellhead was subsequently extended. Risk assessment to determine public health risks of operating the Potawatomi Village was conducted in 2004. A raw water assessment study was conducted in 2015. Well pump and downpipes were replaced in 2016, 2020, and 2023. Contact time or contact tanks and pressurized tanks were replaced in 2018, 19, and 20. Iron sequestration system optimization efforts were conducted in 2021, 2022. And iron reduction system pilot testing was conducted by the Washington Clean Water Center in 2022, 2023. We don't, and this is intentional. We don't plan. We're kind of sort of reactive when it comes to the Potawatomi plant. We don't plan major maintenance. So we essentially have, just for miscellaneous items, we basically suggested a $5,000 budget for maintenance.
Can you, miscellaneous items, can you just expand on that? Or?
Let's say we have one of the tanks that burst inside the plant. Typically, replacement of a pressure tank, you're looking at probably $3,000. UV system. If we have sometimes we'll have the UV sensors that fail. You're talking, so there's 3 UV units in there, you vaguely recall. So replacement of the UV sensor, you're looking to purchase about $680 last year. Just,
I gotcha.
Yeah,
So
we're
it's anticipating a potential problem.
we're kind of a reactive mode with Potawatomi. So Oxenden water distribution, we basically, so the Oxenden water distribution network was built in 1996 and is supplied by the Waterton water treatment plant. Distribution pipelines are 250 mil, so 8-inch to 150 mil, so 6-inch diameter PVC. My brain still works in inches. I look at drawings and I always have to do the conversion. Fire flow testing again was performed on all of your hydrants in 2024. $10,000 that we have budgeted for water main breaks, for water main maintenance and water repair parts. And that, in a nutshell, is.
Okay, thank you, Leo. Any questions? None, so thank you very much. Let's staff have any comments to add to that?
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
do recognize that there was one other business plan request that is in relation to our water. However, if council would be okay with it, we do have one more presenter this morning, being GEI. I believe our drainage superintendent is virtual to discuss Johnson Municipal Drain.
Hello all. Sorry I couldn't attend in person today. Mayor Carlton, Deputy Mayor Pringle, councilors, staff. I would like to keep this short and sweet. I believe you have a copy of my letter to council, as well as our preliminary drawings for the Johnson Municipal Drain. First of all, can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, and yes, we have
Okay.
your letter.
Good, perfect. Essentially, we were contacted by Blair Freeman back in March of 2024 for a request for maintenance of the Johnson Municipal Drain. I then attended site in June of 2024. March of 2024 to walk the drain just to determine the extent of the maintenance work necessary. My findings were that there was approximately 0.1 to 0.3 meters of sediment within the Johnson drain, with the worst of it being in the wetland portion of the municipal drain, as there is very little grade within that area. I believe the drain runs at 0.1% through there. So after much back and forth with landowners through many meetings, site meetings, as well as at the township office, from March until June of 2025, we discussed with landowners on potential solutions and scope of work. And we kind of came to an agreement of approximately 1 kilometer, 1,000 meters of bottom clean out. The culvert underneath concession 5 is in need of repair. From my letter, there are images that are attached with it. And you can see that the culvert has essentially split in two alongside concession 5, and gravel is seeping in and is washing out the road. And I foresee that it becoming a rather large problem in the foreseeable future if this goes untouched. So that's kind of the extent of the work. I estimate it to be roughly around $72,000, give or take, for the work. There would be a 1/3 grant for any landowners that take part in agricultural activities within that drainage area. So that's a savings of approximately $14,000. So you're looking at about $57,000 in total for this work to be completed. So that includes the kilometer, 1,000 meters of drain cleanout approximately, culvert repair, and then access clearing along the side there. This work would be necessary in order to promote flow in that area. We did do work in the past in this area. I believe Ian Erickson did this back in 2016, I believe. We conducted a repair of the branch D, as well as a portion of the main branch for excavation and sediment removal, but we didn't go far enough. We stopped at the tree line rather than coming further into the forest there. So that's kind of my nuts and bolts on it anyway. It's a fairly simple and straightforward task. We will need to, if this is to go forward, we'll need to get Gray Sobel involved as well as the DFO. We need their approvals before we move forward on any of this, but I wanted to bring it to council's eyes first to make sure that we are okay to proceed.
Okay, thank you very much. And I'm going to turn to staff to see if they have any further comments on this.
No, we do have that in our Johnson Municipal Drains as part of presentation later on.
Okay, so this is really just the background for what we're going to get later in the day. Good. No, I think that's everything, Chris, so thank you very much. Unless any council members have a question for Chris.
I have a question just in terms of drainage, but that, I imagine it'll come later. This is just one specific area. Yeah, this is, these are concerns that come from various areas of our municipality. So I think it's a part of a bigger conversation perhaps.
Okay.
Okay.
Good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
For you, I recognize we had a few different presentations right now. I'm not sure if council was wanting to take a 5-10 minute break before we go into the other business plan requests. And that would also give staff an opportunity to let others either come enter and join the room or to be advised and available online if there are questions around.
Yeah, I think that's an idea, being cognizant of the fact that we are going to lose quorum at 12:30. Isaac's not going to be able to make it
Oh,
at all.
well,
Please.
Are we still on?
We're still live. That's fine.
Thank you.
We take a break. We're having a recess. Yeah.
Farm on the
There's the hiking all over through the escarpment. There's the bay, the water, if you're into water sports or sailing. And of course, pickleball is growing fast and it's all over the place right now. So there's lots to do.
What we enjoy the most about Georgian Bluff is having access to the beautiful nature around us, the cultural impact from the First Nations to the local artists.
The trails and so many great things to do and lots of business opportunity here and tourism as well to support our business.
First off, what I love about the area is the scenery. It's absolutely beautiful. Like, it's right in the name of the municipality, the Bluffs. Another thing too that I noticed from living through here is all the small communities throughout Georgian Bluffs. They're very unique and they might be very small, but we're very big with heart. Everybody looks out for each other, takes care of each other, and just the way locals support locals. So the ability to have a local business and prosper is very apparent here in Georgian Bluffs.
people are more genuine here. People are more sincere. They're kind. They know the word please and thank you. It's the way life used to be. It's more simpler. You feel like you're part of something.
The Township of Georgian Bluffs as a municipality is proud to serve its residents, whether it be looking after infrastructure, looking after our roads, grading our gravel roads, looking after our parks, our trails, our community centres, our ice arena, or providing the services that residents rely on every single day when they come to our township offices. I'm proud to lead a team which is here serving the residents of Georgian Bluffs every single day.
What we'd like to see Georgian Bluffs going forward is really, more people coming to experience this beautiful energy, this relaxed energy, because over here in Georgian Bluffs, I can hear the wind, I can hear the trees talking. It's just amazing, really relaxing.
Welcoming more people, yet with the same foundation and principles of community, of respect, and of morals.
It would be great for Georgian Bluffs to continue to support, nature and the beauty that we have here, and to keep our area clean and beautiful.
I hope to see more local businesses, more sustainable living, and more families just moving up here and living and prospering off their land and their property.
For me and my family, Georgian Bluffs means being close to nature. Having the escarpment to hike and the water of Georgian Bay at our doorstep is something that draws us to being part of this community. The family-friendly neighbourhoods, the fact I can connect with my neighbours and see them on the street and say hello, and I know the people I'm seeing each day, is something which for me is something I treasure and my family treasures about being in Georgian Bluffs.